You're probably here today because aspects of your business are not functioning profitably. It's likely that you have suffered high losses on a recent project. This was not the first time it has happened, and you can't afford to let it happen again. As that project spiraled out of control, labor costs escalated and ran on and on. Crew morale hit an all-time low and production felt like it was moving backwards. The harder your team tried to claw it back into alignment, the worse it got. That's because the damage that was done weeks in the past was still manifesting in the form of costly rework, delayed schedules, excessive rental costs, per diem, and liquidated damages. Even though your team was affecting improvement, it took weeks to see the results of those changes. In the meantime, you felt like the losses would never end. Sound familiar? It's more common than you think. There's got to be a better way. And there is. The solution is to never let your projects get to this level of loss again. That's what we're going to discuss here today. My name is Dennis Thomas. I'm a licensed master electrician. I have been in the electrical trade for 46 years. I spent my entire career in the trenches next to crews just like yours every day. I made it my life's work to know and understand what needed to happen every day to avoid losses just like this. In my youth, I was the guy who was sent in to fix failing projects. Today, I work as a freelance construction manager. My company is Estimateguard. I named it that so you would know what my main purpose is: to guard your estimate budgets. Today, I'm going to teach you how to guard your own estimate budgets. That starts with accountability. Accountability from estimator to project manager to electrical foreman and all the way down to the electrical helper. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's start at the beginning. Let me tell you how your crew probably starts their day. I know this because I have seen it play out time after time over many years on many projects for many contractors. Your electrical foreman starts his day with your crew huddled around him. Work assignments are dished out. Mark, Francisco, I need you to go up to the roof and mount all the disconnects and come see me when you're done. Chris, Janice, I need you to pull the branch wire in the office area and come see me when you're done. James, John, roughen the kitchen area and come see me when you're done. Notice a common theme here? Every time your foreman tells a worker to come see them when they are done, they write a blank check for that work with your signature on it. When you tell a worker to come see you when they are done, you are giving the worker the power to decide how long that work should take. In reality, your estimate dictates how long tasks should take. If they take longer than estimated, you lose money. If there is one valuable lesson I learned in the past 46 years, this is it. Assigning a time limit to every task and forcing the employee to record their time against every task is the single best way to boost production and eliminate labor overruns. But there's more. Hours are not hours. Hours are dollars. Let me explain. To keep it simple, let's just say you have a task that is worth 100 labor dollars. If you assign that task to an apprentice making $15 per hour, that worker can spend 6.67 hours completing that task profitably. If you assign the same task to a journeyman earning $25 per hour, that worker can only spend 4 hours on the same task to complete profitably. What if you assign the task to both workers? Can you begin to see the dynamics that play out on your projects every day? You need to schedule labor hours, but monitor labor dollars. It is not your foreman's fault that you are losing money. It is your fault. That foreman needs training in order to understand how to manage your labor dollars efficiently. Chances are you have not given him or her that training. So this is where we need to start. By training your foreman and your field. But before that can happen, we need to get past an obstacle. That obstacle is your project manager. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that your project manager is a bad person. Misguided would be a better description. These days, it is common for contractors to require project managers to hold some type of relevant degree. That's not a bad thing, that's a good thing. However, a degree does not include years of experience installing electrical material. It is your field crews and field managers who have that experience. Let me ask you a question. How many projects do you think that project manager's college professor brought in on time and on budget? My guess is right around 0. The problem is you've given your project manager too much authority. In order to do that, you had to rob that authority from your field managers, and you need to give it back. This has been the trend over the last many years. It happened because, through the use of different platforms, contractors have been led to believe that they could manage field labor at the office level. This thinking is wrong. No one knows better how to install that material efficiently than your field managers. If your field does not have that authority, they cannot be held accountable for the results of that authority. Once they have that authority back, you need to hold them accountable for using it effectively and delivering profitable results. That means you need a way to track those results that will give you daily feedback on how they are performing. I'm going to give you those methods, but understand this. Project management is not going to solve your problem. Crew management is going to solve your problem. More on that later, but first, your project manager needs to get out of the way. Get on board with the program and let the field succeed. If you are going to permit him or her to constantly wander into your office and fill your ear with dreams of managing your field with spreadsheets or Smartsheet, then you ought to just close your browser right now to keep yourself from wasting my time. They are wrong. They are not the expert. I am. I am the expert because I made it my life's work to be the expert. And I will not permit their 4-year degree to drown out my 46 years of experience. If they were the expert, you would have never suffered those huge losses in the first place. Now, for those of you who still remain, let's continue on. Let's see if we can agree on one point. If you are going to pay an estimator to create a competitive bid, win a project, and then sign a contract to build that project at that price, that estimate just became your goal. Do you agree? If so, we need to treat it like a goal. We need to slice it up into manageable milestone tasks that can be issued out and tracked to completion. The workers to whom these tasks are assigned need to be monitored dollar by dollar, not by hour, to ensure that they are completing on time and on budget. At the very first sign that they are not succeeding, someone needs to intervene and help them get back on track before the task goes over budget. It does no good to sign contracts on competitive bids that your field workers cannot compete with. In reality, your competitor is determining the price you have to deliver that project for. You need to beat their price in order to win the project. That means your competitor is telling you how fast your workers need to install material. Therefore, we need to make sure your crews can install material at or below the rate of installation your competitor demands. Lucky for you, due to disorganization and lack of proper oversight, with proper guidance, it is easily possible to beat your competitor's labor demand, if you get your shit together. I'm going to show you how. But labor is only one part of an entire project. Completing a project on time and on budget takes getting a lot of things right. Getting a lot of things right takes a well thought out system. A system with checks and balances that will constantly alert you anytime one of those many items is in jeopardy of straying south of the profit line. I spent the last 32 years creating, testing, and refining that very system. Have you ever held a project review in your boardroom with your stakeholders on a losing project? Did you get the answers you were seeking on what went wrong, or did you just get excuses? In my mind, any explanation that cannot be proven mathematically is an excuse. This is important because if you spend your time chasing excuses, you may be fixing things that do not need fixing. In other words, chasing your tail. Do not ever believe excuses that cannot be proven mathematically. For that, you need to be able to see those dollars and hours being invested and recorded in real time. For this, we need a properly formatted estimate. In order to track those tasks dollar for dollar, your estimate needs to be broken down by task and by your accounting cost codes. I call this a task integrated estimate. There are two ways to create a task integrated estimate. You can format your estimate during takeoff by using breakdowns, or you can import your estimate into specialized software that automatically breaks it down by task and cost code. If you ask your estimator to sort their estimate by cost codes during the takeoff, he or she will cry. Grown men and women should not cry, so I recommend using the specialized software. So, where are you going to get this software? Well, you're going to get it from me because I built it. It is the only software that you can import your raw estimate info that will automatically sort that estimate by task and cost code and build the work breakdown structure for your construction schedule. If you qualify to work with me, I am going to give it to you for free. I'm sorry I won't be able to help all of you. I have to be sure you're a good fit for the solutions I provide. If you are not, I'm going to have to tell you the truth and wish you the best of luck. I have to do that because I do not fail. Therefore, I cannot work with clients who I do not believe will succeed with the processes I outline. But for those contractors that are a good fit, there is more. Once we import your estimate data, sort it by cost, code, and task, organize it into the breakdown structure for your construction schedule, and set the start dates for each task, we are going to use it to point and click assign those tasks to workers and crews of workers. These rolling schedules will tell your crews exactly what to work on, how much time they have to complete each task profitably based on their actual wage. And it will become their time reporting system, so we will know on a daily basis whether they are succeeding or not. By requiring them to report their time by task, we are creating accountability. They own that task, and we will know the minute they drift south of your profit line. So we can jump in and help them correct issues before they become losses. But here's the best part. Since we have sorted the labor by task and cost code, we have also sorted the materials by task and cost code. Meaning, we can deliver that material right to their work area before they arrive to start the task, which will keep them in their work area installing material instead of wandering your job site looking for it. You would rather have them installing material than looking for it, right? Let's go deeper. Once we have imported your estimate, sorted it by task and cost code, created the work breakdown structure, and scheduled the start date for all phases and tasks, we're going to add action items to the schedule that must be ticked off by the site supervisor to confirm that the series of tasks are ready to start. Action items include things like special tools and equipment are on site, dig permits and utility locates are complete, materials are on site and verified, and manpower is accurate and available. This list will be populated by the project manager in collaboration with the site leaders to ensure every group of tasks are verified to start without delay or incident. If any delays are encountered due to items not listed on the action item list, the project manager will be notified to update best practices for addressing similar tasks on future projects. Relevant documentation that the field might need to complete tasks will be posted to the document library, like plans, installation manuals, specification sheets, material lists, subcontracts, and rental contracts. All available anywhere on site with a smartphone or tablet. Once complete, we're going to use our construction schedule to point and click assign tasks right to our workers and crews. These rolling schedules will automatically tell each worker or crew how much time they have to complete each task profitably, based on their actual wage and task budget. These rolling schedules will become timesheets where each worker will record their progress against each task, which will provide us with a written record of what the estimate said should happen and what really happened. You want accountability, right? So you can get answers at the end of the project that can be proven mathematically? Well, here's how that happens. And the math is already done for you, so you won't even need to break out a calculator. This will provide accurate historical information to be used to evaluate project success at the close of the project, and pass back to the estimator for consideration on future projects. The success of your project lies in the strength of your field. They need the authority to manage their own people and processes. They need training and a solid system of project execution that they can repeat time after time. In 1997, after 5 years of building my system of field management, while I was experimenting with spreadsheets to track production during my second project for a contractor, he was so impressed with my system of field management that he asked me to manage his entire business for him. In 2004, I was managing the construction of a 40-acre petrochemical facility. Part of my responsibility was to hire subcontractors for the wiring of a blending facility that was part of the project. I created my own estimate so I would know what the value of the contract should be. The contractor's bid came in way high. I tried to convince him to come down in price and he refused. Convinced my price was fair, I kidnapped a mechanic and a carpenter from the maintenance department. I taught them how to bend, cut, and thread GRC pipe and put them to work. I gave them close supervision and a detailed layout. They beat my budget. In 2006, I ran one project for a contractor, and afterwards, he asked to buy my spreadsheets. I told him that I would sell him copies for $1,000. He wrote me a check right on the spot for $4,000. I had to return the check and tell him, no, I didn't say $4,000, I said for $1,000. In 2015, I was hired to build a $6 million solar project for a contractor in Florida. It was a complex project that involved pumping concrete up 5 stories at night to cast 128 concrete columns and cap them with 300-foot-long concrete beams. The concrete contractor that was selected before I arrived was not suited for the work. The client, a local utility, insisted that we remove them from the project and replace them with another more capable contractor. This caused delays in a 6-month schedule that absolutely had to be completed by December 31st, 2015. The client forbade me to use my software to schedule and manage the project. I used it anyway and didn't tell them. They brought in a master scheduler who built a schedule in Microsoft Project that accounted for the installation of every nut, bolt, and washer. In early November, their schedule was predicting that I would not complete until February of 2016. During a meeting with high-level vice presidents, they were discussing this serious problem and how we were going to overcome it. Finally, a utility VP asked if anyone had asked what I thought. When they did, I told them that I would have all of my inspections complete by December 18th and start the machine up on December 21st. They all laughed. I did pass all of my inspections by December 18th and started the plant up on December 23rd. There was a 2-day delay in startup because the inverter tech who had to be present for startup was delayed for 2 days in Honduras. The client was so pleased with the outcome that they offered my customer another equal-sized project as long as I ran it for them. From that point on, they allowed me to use my own software to manage all of their projects. I've since built many projects for them, each one a success. In 2018, that same utility client hired me to oversee the construction of their first utility-scale solar project. As their owner's rep, I used my software to track their EPC contractor's progress. The project started in May of 2018 and was contracted to complete at the end of September. The contractor was struggling, and in late June, my supervisor wanted me to project when the project would complete. I used my software to predict October 31st. Contractor insisted I was full of beans. They completed on November 15th. I projected 5 months in the future and was off by 2 weeks. After 1 year, I was asked to take over my supervisor's role when he retired. I declined because it took me away from my goal of completing the software. In 2020, during the pandemic, I built a $4 million solar project for a repeat customer. Since I had tracked several projects for them with my software, I knew very closely what the cost would be for me to build the project. I gave them back $400,000 of their budget before I even started. I completed the project on time and held my budget. Now, you can create your own field management system if you want to, or you can work with me. But let me tell you what it took to build mine. I'll start with a quick story. In 1984, after 6 years in the electrical trade, I was working as a foreman wiring multifamily projects, small stuff like fourplexes. I normally had a crew of 4 or 5 electricians. One day I had to head into the office and talk with the contractor. I had a journeyman with me, so when we got to the shop, I sent him to find a whole hog while I talked with the contractor. When I was done, I met up with the journeyman and asked about the drill. He told me the only thing left in the tool crib was the dentist drill. Well, I didn't know what a dentist drill was, so I asked, "What is a dentist drill?" He said, "You know, that big metal drill Barney has." Barney was the contractor, and he had this old Milwaukee 3/4 inch chuck hole shooter. It was big and heavy, all metal, not a piece of plastic on it. It was really powerful, and if it hung up while you were drilling, it could easily break your arms. So then I asked him, "Well, why do you call it the dentist drill?" He replied, "That's what everyone calls it because it is a bitch to work with." That had a profound impact on me. You see, I thought I was a pretty decent guy, but I got to thinking about that and decided, after much thought, that he was right. You see, I only knew one method of crew management. Wave your arms, stomp your feet, and scream hurry up. I made a commitment the very next day to learn everything I could to be the best foreman in the field. I read every book I could get my hands on that I believe would get me to that goal, including my friends' college textbooks. I read for a solid 8 years before I ever started developing this system of crew management that I am going to introduce you to. I studied management, electrical code, negotiating, dealing with difficult people, accounting, electrical design, scheduling, construction principles, project management, estimating, and the list goes on. I created my first spreadsheet in 1994. At the time, I had only owned my first computer for a few months. I studied Microsoft Excel and Access for several years, making constant additions and improvements to my spreadsheet system. I managed projects with a spreadsheet system for 18 years until 2011 when I converted the system to software. It's one thing to make an addition to your system of management. It's a whole other thing to test it in the field, modify it, and refine it until it works perfectly. That can take years to achieve. So, when a project manager who has no idea how to directly manage labor profitably and install material efficiently pops up and says, "Oh, we can do that with a simple spreadsheet," that is insulting to me. In all, I have invested 40 years in creating a system that serves me every single time. If it is your desire to build your own system, I suggest you get started right away. That simple spreadsheet your project manager has in mind is going to change 1,000 times before you are satisfied with it. Or we could work together, and I'll share 40 years of intense study and trial with you, and you can save 40 years of your life. It has long been believed by contractors that labor is the most difficult budget to manage. Chances are that you've arrived at the same conclusion. So it is very easy to understand how valuable a solution to this problem might be, right? And if I could make that process easy for you, you'd probably want to invest in that solution, wouldn't you? Wouldn't it be nice to never worry about projects spiraling out of control again? Wouldn't it be a relief if you never had to recover from another project that decimated your profitability? Isn't it worth investigating this solution further? Wouldn't you like to provide the accountability that you need to identify issues before they drive your business in the hole? My research tells me that contractors begin experiencing large losses on random projects at about $5 million in annual sales. It is common for these losses to continue into the tens of millions in annual sales. This is predictable, and the reason it happens is because contractors are able to keep tight control of their business up to about $5 million. Above that point, they are forced to hire subordinates to manage different aspects of their business. These managers bring different experience, skill sets, and beliefs. And the system the contractor had in place is replaced by a collage of methods managed by workers who are less vested in the success of the company than the contractor. Accountability goes out the window, and you're left with baseless excuses for what went wrong. If your business is at or above $5 million in annual sales, what I am relating probably rings true for you. If it does, you can probably see where the solutions I am suggesting could solve these problems for you. However, to think that you are going to spend 8 years reading and educating yourself on field management practices, and then spend 18 years testing and developing a spreadsheet system for implementing those practices, and 12 years converting those spreadsheets into a software platform and testing and refining the results, is nonsense. It's just not going to happen. In fact, I already know from experience that if I give you all of my training material and the use of my software, and say, "Thank you very much, good luck," you still won't succeed because you will be too overwhelmed, and you'll just get frustrated and give up. That's why I refuse to package this system up and just offer it to anyone who wants it. Instead, I personally manage the implementation to ensure you succeed, which is why I can only work with a limited number of contractors. Question: isn't it time to eliminate this costly issue of high losses on random projects forever? Facts: labor is the most difficult budget to manage. You need accountability in order to understand where the problems are and how to fix them. You need to fix these problems before they crash below your profit line so they don't drive the entire project down the toilet. I can provide that solution. 3 types of companies: There are three types of companies that we encounter: companies that don't care or are not interested, companies that are well-meaning but misinformed and misaligned, companies that are genuinely committed. Which one are you? Type 1. Companies that don't care or are not interested. 5 years from now, we will be able to check back and find them experiencing the same issue of high losses on random projects that keeps them just barely in the green year after year. Type 2. Companies that are well-meaning but misinformed and misaligned. The purpose of this web training today was to help clear up the misinformation and to create alignment. This is what we've been told by contractors like you many times. We've been trying for the last decade to solve this problem but aren't seeing any progress. Type 3. Companies that are genuinely committed. If you're serious about giving our profitability system the focus and attention it deserves, here is what you should do next. Schedule a call with me. Go to the URL below and you'll see an online scheduler with my availability. Calendly.com/estimateguard/book-call. In 30 minutes or less, I'll get a better understanding of what makes sense specifically for you to focus on to start seeing the benefits of our profitability system immediately. I can't promise that you'll end up working as a client of ours. However, if we determine after our call that it makes sense to proceed, then we can cross that bridge when we come to it. My first and foremost goal is to help you realize the benefits that a solid system of field management can have to propel your business forward. The reality: your crews have the biggest impact on the profitability of your project. Your crews can be taught skills that will enable them to greatly improve your chance of success. I have created a way to monitor that success from estimate to exit. I'm willing to share these methods with companies who are a good fit for these solutions. Is your company a good fit? Why don't we find out now? It'll cost you only a phone call to find out. We're passionate about helping contractors solve this problem and eager to learn about your own unique business and how we can help launch you forward. Calendly.com/estimateguard/book-call.